Hi, guys. On today's episode, we're going to be talking to Greg Potapenko and about his company, H-Hour Marketing, and how you can start your business, or maybe you can get some insight on how to run a seven-figure income business. I'm Bruno, and this is The Battle Plan.
Thanks, Bruno. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's all good, Greg. Thanks for being on the episode. And guys, today we have quite the exciting episode. Greg is a warrant officer with the Canadian Forces, and he is currently still serving as a company sergeant major at a reserve unit. And for the past 10 years, he's bootstrapped a seven-figure digital marketing agency and a seven-figure e-commerce brand. And the marketing agency is called H-Hour. We'll leave all the links below. We'll leave how you can reach out to him and the courses that he's got running. But today we're going to talk about him. So, Greg, how are you doing?
Good to be here. Great to connect with fellow Army veteran and fellow jumper.
Thank you.
And you're frozen.
Yes, we are frozen. This is the beauty of doing virtual podcasts and all these things until everything else opens up. So let's not worry about it. People are very well aware. So Greg, you know what? We on the podcast, we usually talk to people about their mindset of doing, starting their businesses and being out there and doing things differently. And I was attracted to your business because you're still, once again, it's another one of our guests on the episode. You're still serving, but you've created a seven-figure marketing. So we hear this all the time online and everything. But what does it take to start a business? What was the idea that came up for you to say, I'm going to go and I'm serving in the force, but I want to do something else? And what's the first idea that came up to you?
Yeah, well, great question. And I think I've been kind of exposed to entrepreneurship and business from birth because my dad was an entrepreneur. He quit his job and started basically like a clothing manufacturing company. I wasn't born in Canada, by the way. We emigrated from Russia about 25 years ago. So, as I was little, like I watched him. As I was playing on our bedroom floor, he had a sewing machine and he was, making garments. And then they had a facility with, a few other guys. They teamed up, and I was working there. Like after school, I would jump in his car and go there. And actually made enough money as a kid, like that. In Soviet Russia, I could actually have had enough to buy like the most luxury car there is that only the party members could afford.
Wow.
However, you could buy it because it was only sold to the party members. And then I lost it all in 91 during the default. So it went all, to zero. But anyway, so like I kind of was exposed through my dad to entrepreneurship. And when I came to Canada, like I was like 16 and no friends, I didn't really socialize much, but I got a computer. So, I just kind of self-taught all the different bad things that happen on the internet. But the good thing that I taught myself was how to build web pages, because I needed an outlet. I was kind of like, I guess it wasn't even called a blog then, but essentially I just wanted like a diary or something to share my thoughts. And I created a website. And in fact, it went viral in Russia.
Wow.
In the 90s. Yeah, like it was for a brief period of time, for a couple of years, actually went viral before and the term was created. It was like featured on national TV, different publications, blogs and whatnot. And I kind of I didn't monetize it, but I had those skills with me. And then some guy reached out to me through the website from Moscow, and he's basically had a business idea of how to make money using cost per click advertisements. So basically, there were companies at the time already that would pay you for every click somebody clicked on the ads you place on your website. So basically, because my website, all the traffic was from Russia, they didn't want that traffic. They wanted US-based traffic, and we
US-based. And just to cut in, is that what you would call today affiliate marketing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's exactly what it was. And basically, we created a bunch of sites and would place the banners on them, and then we basically go and spam. There was no Google at the time. It was like all those like old Alta Vista and whatever. And basically, there were these link directories. Like that's where everybody went to see what new websites appeared on the internet. And we would just basically spam our way on top every day. We just add a link and keep it adding it back. So I made a few grand just through that. I mean, that ended because the advertisers realized they gotta check how well those clicks convert into buyers, and
Right.
obviously they were not
Conversion
converting
rates.
very well. So
Yeah.
so yeah, basically, like it was kind of cool as like a 17 year old kid, just make a bunch of money online at the time. And then I did the normal life. I went finished high school. I got into university, and then because I failed or almost failed calculus in high school, I actually ended up not like my acceptance got rejected. So for a year, I basically put on some safety shoes and went to work on assembly lines and other like
And that is still all in Russia, right?
hardcore blue collar jobs.
Yeah.
No, that's all here. This
That's
was
all
here in
here.
Canada.
Okay. Oh, in
Yeah,
Canada. Okay. Okay.
yeah.
And
So
where in
basically,
Canada?
Toronto. Yeah.
In Toronto. Okay.
Yeah, so
Right
we
on.
came in 97 and settled down in Toronto. So like this time frame is around 98, 99, 2000. 2000 is I joined the reserves and kind of fell in love with it right away, and stayed on throughout university. So I served in the RCR battle school as an instructor for almost a year, and full time, and basically I did something bad, and I got kicked out of there. But I mean,
No.
we can explore it later. But yeah, it was actually a very
Well,
serious
now that you
learning
brought it up,
experience.
now that you brought it up, because you were full time at the RCR Battle School, was that in Meaford? That's the one in
Yeah, it
Meaford,
was.
right?
Yeah, so basically, like
Yeah.
I was a freshly minted master jack from the reserves, and basically got a had a really good, and there was a opportunity to stay on, and I just graduated. I didn't have a city job lined up, so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do it. Got a Reg Force infantry course and Reg Force STU at the time.
Right.
And then yeah, basically I didn't know what I was doing, and I was just emulating behavior of senior NCOs that I kind of followed, and that was the wrong behavior to emulate. And I basically learned my mistake, and I lost my contract. It's a pretty serious incident. The whole base stopped training for 3 days.
With things being changed in the direction of where you were going, because life actually
Yeah.
sends us those gifts in disguise. Where did you go from there? Is that when you started thinking about starting your own business or going back to work?
No, it was actually interesting. Like the week that I lost my contract, I got a call from like some random job application that I filled out, and I got a job the next Monday.
Okay.
So I started working on Bay Street in Toronto in the finance sector. That was my kind of my degree. So I have a degree in finance.
Okay.
And after a year, I got into Bear Gold, which is the biggest gold mining company at the time. And I spent 6 years there, and got to work with some pretty amazing people, learn about the mining industry, how stuff gets extracted from the ground, and spend some time in exotic locations, learned another language, picked up Spanish, and while I was working there, so around 2007, like my wife just got pregnant with our first child, and I was starting to look at some numbers. And even though it was the biggest gold mining company in the world and everything, but I realized that I need to figure out how I'm going to afford this.
Right.
And that's when I kind of started looking for different things. So at the time I was already like working full time. I was studying for a financial certification called CFA. It's a very rigorous examination where like there's 2 levels, and only 70% on average fail on each level. So I failed each level twice. On the third attempt, I passed level 1. Then I passed level 2 on the third attempt while I was on my DP3 course in Gagetown. And Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to do my 15 years in the forces without ever having to go to gauge towns, which I'm
Yeah, no,
pretty
that was
lucky.
that was a 3 alpha course. This was like basically ranges. So it wasn't like we had weekends off and people would go drinking, and I was behind my book studying. And then when the cabbie drove me to the University of New Brunswick for the exam on a Saturday, he's like, "Are you visiting some ladies?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna get my ass kicked for 9 hours." And
Right.
um, so anyways, what happened was like, yeah, basically like heard a bunch of friends that were making money online and kind of found a forum where they were hanging out. And what they were doing, it was also affiliate marketing. They were generating leads for financial companies in the UK. This was 2007, just before the crisis,
Right.
where they were getting paid up to 125 British pounds per lead, which was at the time 250 Canadian dollars.
Oh,
And
that's
I
a lot
figured,
for a lead.
well, I know how to build websites. It was, yeah. I mean, it was that crazy time right before the financial crisis, right?
Right.
Um, and basically, I'm like, all right, I think I know how to build websites. It's been 10 years, but I can still build one. I just need to figure out how to generate clicks again. I can't spam bulletin boards anymore. So it was, again, there wasn't Facebook ads. There was no like TikTok. There was none of that. It was just Google, Yahoo, Microsoft search. It was all search, right? And I basically taught myself how to run search advertisements in Google. And I launched. I launched in the fall of '07, and I lost 5 Gs, right, within 2 months
Hmm.
because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And that was the time where I would probably quit, but I didn't. And being good with data, like that's what kind of saved me, I think, in retrospect. I went back and looked at the data again closely, and I found some pockets of profitability, and kind of went back and January made a little bit of money. And then of course 2008 happened, financial crisis, boom, that whole thing kind of went from 125 pounds to like 15.
Right.
But nevertheless, I made $13,000 that year on the side, on the internet. So
Right. So if I can just jump into kind of
yeah,
for
yeah.
the audience to see that if you're listening to the story, is that there's a recurring theme that I find with people that are actually, because social media kind of gives us a little bit of a false advertisement of how people make it. Like when before the podcast, we were kind of connecting, and I always talk about the Gary V's out there, the Grant Cardones, the Tony Robbins, the people that are out there, and people are kind of trying to see like, oh my God, I'll never make it or whatever. And that's why I do the Battle Plan podcast, is to be able to have the discussion with the people that are actually showing the way to do it. Because there's a gap in between the people where they are right now and where these leaders, these influencers in the world are. And basically what I'm finding is that you've failed, as you say. You're very, very transparent in the fact that this is where I failed, this is where I failed, this is where I failed, this is what happened, these are good. But I didn't quit. I kept on going. I think that's the message that I want to bring to the audience, of saying, if you're listening to Craig, what he's saying is that he faced some challenges and then he continued on. That's the mindset I think we need. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with one caveat. Like, I didn't just continue blindly doing the same thing without stopping and reevaluating. Like, it's that,
Yes.
OODA loop, or, decision action cycle that they
Mhm.
teach us in the military, where
Yeah.
in the startup world, they call it build, measure, learn. So it's exactly the same loop, but basically you iterate and you try to look at the results or lack thereof, and trying to like figure out patterns and what's working and do more of that, and what's not working and do less of that. So just simply blindly charging through, it's like doing a frontal attack uphill in the bunker, right? Like eventually
Right.
you're probably going to lose. You're going to run out of people. Everyone's dead. So that's where I think, yes, you need to be persistent and you need to not quit. But actually, like I'm paraphrasing Jocko, because like I saw him speak and he got asked the same question, like what about your thing that with never quit? And he gave that explanation with charging a bunker uphill with a section, and then 2 guys get killed every burst, and 4 bursts you're all dead, right?
Right.
So yes, he didn't quit, but he did not complete the mission, and that's why you got to call in fast air, artillery, something.
Use your resources. Yeah. Look for better
Yeah, like
resources.
that's
Look for what.
basically the straight out of Jocko's playbook. So yeah, you should not quit, but you just, you got to be smart about it.
Well, that's a very good point that you're bringing, because as an executive coach myself, when I work with either the businesses or CEOs or what that's the thing. Sometimes people get stuck in that loop that you're talking about, right? And they don't exit because they're saying, "I'm not quitting." That's so good that you brought that up. I'm not quitting, but they're still repeating the same mistakes. And basically, it comes down to the questioning. And you brought it up by saying, "Well, I looked at the data." And I looked at what was profitable. I just need to kind of readjust. It's the same thing that you said about Jocko when he goes, if we're going uphill against a bunker, there's 8 of us after 4 tries, we're done. We got to use resources, which is hair support and everything. What are those resources? So after you've made that $13,000 after the crisis, how did you readjust? What resource did you go for? What did you change?
Yeah, good question. I'm actually, hopefully we'll come back to the not quit and readjust, because
Well, go ahead if you want to. If you want to
sneak
close
preview, I'm kind of going through this phase right now, but like that's jumping way ahead. But yeah, I mean that year, 2008, like when I did actually end up making money, right? It was a proof of concept, like it was real, right? And the year after, I made, I think, 50 grand again on the side, doing all that, like do full-time work, having a young family, studying for the exams still, and serving in the military,
wow,
doing the course.
That's a lot
to get the start. Yeah, I mean, I was burning a lot of midnight oil, for sure. But what resources did I use? Well, one resource was leverage the community, right? So again, I didn't do like I'm not claiming that I figured everything out myself. That forum was a huge resource. There were people answering questions, and it's kind of like what goes on in Facebook groups and masterminds right now. That was exactly it. Like the people who the moderators on the forum and other people that were sharing what was working, what wasn't working. I could reach out and kind of, even if I didn't get a question, what I would do is go and spy on them. I do my recce, my recon, and I spied on a few people who were like posting big numbers, like making high 5 figures a month in profit, and then kind of spied on their marketing and their sites and reverse engineered it, and kind of what Russell Brunson nowadays calls funnel hacking. So that's what I did. But yeah, in the military, that's time on recce seldom wasted. That rings true. Like that's the resource. So basically, leveraging the community and also doing the in-depth research. Again, having that research analyst background helped for sure.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, and then eventually I kind of scaled it up. I pushed my comfort zone from just operating within the UK. Like for a couple of years, I didn't bother looking at anything else. It was like just trying to make good success in that one niche, like finance and insurance in UK. But then I kind of, I don't know how, but I stumbled upon the whole entire world of affiliate marketing outside in the United States with different verticals, different industries. And basically that's when I've kind of got the next big break, is when I started testing other things, outside of the initial kind of, lodgement that I gained. And then I kind of hit a couple of successful campaigns, found out what was working for me at the time, and really like basically I was making my annual corporate salary in like 2 or 3 months.
Right.
And then it took me a while to quit. Like I had to work up the courage to actually leave the job, even though like I was technically making like 3-4 times the money in like less than half the time.
Yeah. Which is a very good thing to highlight. Sorry, once again, to jump in, because the brain is designed to survive and not to thrive. You have to flex it like any other muscle to be able to go out there. You've done that. You said, I'm burning the midnight oil. I want all these things, but still your human behavior went, I need certainty. And a lot of people are hung up on that. That's a lot of discussions that I also have. How do I transition out?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first class corporate travel 3-4 months a year was kind of one of the things that was holding me back, because the company spent more on my travel than on my salary, to be honest. It was kind of cool. Yeah, they had a $20 million travel budget for the corporate office,
Right.
just for Toronto, because it was built on travel. It's a global company, right? So, but anyway, so yeah, like right now when I'm like talking to other aspiring entrepreneurs, or get asked a question, there's two camps. One is burn the boats, right? It's like Tony Robbins, burn the boats, like no way back, zero options mentality, like and if we sell or whatever, no plan B. And then there's another camp which is like start a side hustle, like Gary Vee, 9 to 5, 5 to 9, and then grow it. So that's the camp that I belong to. Also, obviously, like in the military, we have to come up with multiple COAs, courses of action, for every mission.
Hmm.
Maybe that is also why, like, I don't really subscribe to the zero options, like only one way
Right.
burn boats. Again,
Right.
it could be a limiting factor in my future growth. Who knows? But yeah, that was basically at the time that was my journey, where it took like almost 4 years for me to actually work up the courage to leave the corporate job and start doing the business full time, which I did almost exactly 10 years ago. It was October 15th, 2011, and
Okay.
and yeah, so basically just that was the big defining moment when I was rereading the 4 Hour Work Week on a plane from. He was coming back from Lima. I'm going to San Francisco to a conference, and I was rereading it. And there's a chapter where Tim Ferriss says, like, your brain will try to find excuses for not doing this. Like, oh, I'm gonna wait till that bonus. I'm gonna wait till that trip. I'm gonna wait till, and basically putting it off. And I'm like, okay. I literally closed the book, fired up my laptop, typed up the email. There was no in-flight Wi-Fi, so I basically sent it as soon as I landed.
Right.
And that was a bit of a dick move in retrospect to the company, but I had to do it that way. Otherwise, I would not. I would probably like drag it on for much longer. So it needed to be
Right.
done there and then. So yeah.
Right. So to walk away from that need of certainty, right? You brought it up. You said, you know what, I had to work up the courage to do it, and then also knowing about the need of significance, because you said if I didn't do it, like ripping the band-aid off, which we call, is that you probably, I'm assuming here that you would have, people would have talked you out of walking out. And because of your significance, need of significance, you would have said, you would have stayed on a little bit longer. Is that what you mean by that?
I mean, I wasn't like significant in terms of like I wasn't an executive or anything. I was just like kind of I don't know, lower middle level kind of
Right. But
manager slash analyst, but definitely had a lot of people trying to talk me out of it, like family, of course. Oh no, you can't. Like blah blah. Um, you know,
which happens to every entrepreneur, right? Every
yeah.
entrepreneur goes through that with their family and everything. I think there's a meme on TikTok I really like right now, is when people say, "Oh, you're still that running that little business of yours," and the person answers, "Oh, you're still, you still going to that little job of yours." Right. So it's that kind of like little things that now the businesses are growing and you have to start somewhere. So the transition, how did that go once you sent that email and everything? What were the things that you faced from, other than obviously, the worries about that? Did your company grow quicker because now you had 100% focus on it, or did you started facing new challenges because you
I
had?
started facing new challenges, of course. Like as soon as you, as soon as you kind of make a big decision, and then there's, I think basically what happened is like next year, so like a few months, obviously it was good, and then next year, I think my Google ad accounts got banned
Oh,
for whatever reasons, and I basically for a couple of months I was scared. It was like zero revenue, and I was working on getting them back. I basically, it was a big policy change. It wasn't entirely my fault. It was basically just like being in the wrong time in the wrong place, and together with the clients I was working with and myself, we turned it around, and basically, just a couple of months downtime. But yeah, I mean, at one time, I think I was down to like $4,000 a month, and less than I was making in a job. And I actually had to hire my sister because she graduated, didn't have a job, so I hired her and basically like gave her half of my whatever little money that was coming in to kind of, start getting some experience to put on a resume. And then
Right.
that was kind of like one of the many, dips that I encountered in the last decade. So it was very cyclical, honestly. It was a good couple of years and it'll be a bad year, a good couple of years and a bad year. I had basically, but yeah, I mean, I've grown into like a 7-figure turnover on average, and basically had a couple times when I had an office and I had a physical team, and then I went to remote, and then it was kind of a hybrid. So I experimented with a lot of different things as I was scaling up.
Right.
But I did kind of reach a plateau in that kind of like low 7-figure range, and I couldn't really break through for a number of years. So then, about 5 years ago, I started the e-commerce. So like when Shopify became kind of starting to become a household name, and it became really easy to sell stuff online direct to consumer. Because before that was just like Amazon, or it was really complicated, like building a store, hooking up shopping carts. So yeah, as a diversification vehicle, I got into e-commerce, and launched basically a few products, and a couple of them, they made it into that range where I think we sold like $3 million worth US of product over the last 4 years.
Which was those products? What are the products that were those products you were using, or products that you found that were good sellers with a good profit? How did you make that decision to go to that?
Yeah, so again, it was kind of like me, similar to how I started in '07. I kind of saw a bunch of guys that were like making good money with this kind of new business model, or at least new for me, and kind of jumped on the bandwagon and try to emulate what they were doing. So at the time, it was like basically the mantra was just like test a bunch of stuff and see what sticks. And
Okay.
we just basically started testing random products that we saw other people were selling, or we thought that they, would do well. It wasn't necessarily something that I was personally using. But in retrospect, this product that was the most successful, it was again kind of something that my military experience, and I was a competitive rifle shooter for the army for a couple of years, and in the early days, it kind of led me to develop that product with that particular marketing angle, selling it to shooters, and yeah, basically it wasn't like it was a cosmetics company or something that like I had no idea about. It was something that I was somewhat familiar with the customer avatar, because I was a shooter too.
So you went into that e-commerce and you found those products, and then that took off in a way, and then
Yeah, so basically I was still running like the agency slash affiliate stuff, but it kind of plateaued, and I left it at that, because after a few years of, I guess, trying, maybe not hard enough, I figured, okay, well, if I cannot grow here, let me open a parallel lane, diversify a bit, and grow there. And yeah, we did experience like a pretty steep climb, like in around 2017, where we like, at one time I was spending like $20,000 a day on Facebook ads, and like, it was
right.
a bit of a
There's a lot of money
exhilarating
going through
ride.
that world. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then kind of slowed down again, and there was other challenges that came across. But yeah, like basically we were kind of in parallel running these like 2 7-figure, low 7, high 6-figure businesses in parallel, and that's kind of where I was up until this year, right? So last year was actually, I think, my best year in terms of revenue, because everybody got stuck at home and internet usage peaked.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year has been challenging. And I know in the beginning, before we went on record, you said like that's where you really want to dive deep into, is like the real challenges, because
Like I always say, the reason why I do the podcast is because it's so easy to get caught up in the fact of all the successful people, but actually they're successful because they found a formula that works for them. And I think that in the masterminds, like you're talking about, or when we kind of meet up, or when vets get together or entrepreneurs get together, we actually talk about our failures and where we went wrong and what solutions we found. Like you were saying, you said, I observed the guys that were doing this business and I found what worked for them and I reverse engineer this. So yes, please take us through the challenges that you're facing now and how are you looking at them and what's the thing? Because you use the word plateau for for your marketing business. And these are very interesting thing for me. Obviously, as an executive coach, I want to know, why did it plateau? Let's, what kind of brought you into it. But the thing is most people get caught in their own model of the world. And sometimes they're not seeing all the opportunities out there. So for you, what were those challenges you're facing now? Please bring it up if you want to open up about that.
Yeah, so I wanted to touch on the plateau question and again. Why? I mean, obviously, if you read Jocko and extreme ownership, it's because of you, right? It's all the summary of the decisions that you make or did not make, right? And of course, there are external factors, but basically, I think part of it was that I kind of was in that comfort zone. Like I was basically entrenched in one industry that I found like 8 or 9 years earlier, and kind of um, really got involved with and I understood it. And basically it was several Fortune 500 clients we were servicing, and they made up the entire market for that one industry. And we were making 7 figures a year revenue with them, and it's kind of stable, and it went on for years. And yes, I was searching for diversification opportunities, like more clients, different industries, but I had short periods where it did work. Like we had done, like, for example, solar marketing for rooftop solar, and we did like $250,000 worth of business there, but it was short lived, right? And then I had a couple of years of mobile apps when mobile apps were hot. Like we did really well with those, but I guess it was just maybe me always kind of not pushing hard enough and falling. Like I knew I had something to fall back on, even if those other things didn't pan out, right? So e-commerce was the next big thing that I thought, okay, fine, I'll leave that agency where it's at, just servicing that one industry for as long as we can. I'm not going to look for new clients anymore. I'm going to work on launching products, right? And and basically what happened this year is a bunch of things. So the position with that agency strategy was risky, as you can imagine, having one industry with just several players in it. Again, it was a policy change in early January, and basically the entire industry got put out of business by Google. Like everybody got fired, like right away. Like,
right. I've heard of a lot of that, these big tech companies will turn the tap off and change some of their things to kind of, they say they want to balance the industry. And try to regulate it and all these things. But I can just imagine what that means when you're running full speed ahead and making a lot of money every month. And all of a sudden it says, no, we're changing things, stop. Do you think, is that what happened? And then how did you deal with that?
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And again, I'm not trying to blame Google or blame, like I was fully aware that that's a risk. And that's why I was banking on e-commerce to, be that next step. But so what happened is, they, we got the notice and shut everything down first week of January. And I'm like, all right, well, gotta start looking for new clients. But before that, as I was sitting down for New Year's dinner, Facebook banned me from Facebook ads.
Greg, right? So listen, you're getting banned, you're getting closed up. I'm loving it. Is there a reason why they banned you? Like, now I'm seeing a pattern here.
Well, the reason was because we were basically in the shooting industry, and there's guns involved, which are a prohibited item. So basically their system is smart enough to recognize the shape of, let's say, like an AR-15 upper receiver,
right,
or a front sight, and it like flags it as a weapons. And manual reviews, somebody goes in and, oh no, you're selling accessories, which are allowed.
Right.
And it was just enough of that was happening that the system basically thought we were a burden or whatever. So basically I got banned personally. I mean, my ad accounts, we got them back, so my team's running them, but that was just a low blow. Just basically, 11 p.m. on December 31st, I get an email saying, okay, you're out. So I mean, there are ways around it. Obviously, like you can there are measures you can take to just basically, I am advertising still. It wasn't like a devastating blow or anything. It was just like
Right.
an annoying thing, or a sign, who knows. So basically, so I got banned from Facebook ads. The industry I was servicing got wiped out of policy from Google. And then the e-commerce, we were working hard on trying to ramp them up, but actually it was going the opposite direction. Like whatever we would do, we just keep going down.
Okay.
And it could be, just the product itself wasn't, maybe it got saturated, maybe it just like wasn't as competitive anymore. Maybe there's competition that came in. Because usually if you have a really good idea within 18 months, it's been proven statistically that the competition walks in and takes away your market share. So it's a combination of factors. I can't like just come up with one single reason. Like obviously, again, it's just
No,
the decisions that I made to be in that market, to sell that product, right?
right.
To hire those people who were doing copywriting and advertising and everything for the brand. So essentially, yeah, basically just lost a bunch of revenue, started laying off people, or going from full time to like part time, trying to
Okay.
retain as many as I could. But obviously, people see what's going on.
Yeah. And
And
that's part of business, right? That a lot of
yeah,
people, they see business owners and they said, oh, these guys are making money. And obviously it's a big topic right now. The rich should be paying, right? And you're throwing away around numbers like 7-figure business and all these things doesn't mean you're making seven.
oh no,
Right?
not at all. No, this
And
is
that's the
just
thing.
top line, man. Like
Yeah, that's
after you,
gross. That's what it is. When I used to own my gym or I used to own my business, so Bruno owns a business, he can afford to give me some protein or some t-shirts or whatever that is. I was like, dude, at the end of the day, I'm running this business. Yes, the business is making this, but there's so much more involved into this. And you brought that up, right? It said it's not just one factor that stopped, because you said, it's funny because neuro-linguistic programming, I like to listen to language, and you said within 18 months somebody's figured you out and now they're competing against you. Funny enough, when you were talking about funnel hacking and everything at the beginning of this podcast, you said, I looked up at the guys that were making it and all these things, and you reproduced the same thing. So it's this normal human behavior that we do of seeing something that works. And I think it comes down to what I'm seeing on the online world is that a lot of people are out there who delivers now, because I went through that process of hiring marketing companies and of hiring companies online to push my brand and get me out there, and got caught up. And I lost a lot of money from people that took the money that didn't deliver. And I think it comes down to the service that we offer and how we can retain the clients that we have. Right.
Did you charge them back?
It was through bank transfers and everything. Right. And at that time, once again, you pay for an education. I didn't know, but I got taken. Well, basically my veteran money went out and I lost a lot of money. We're talking about 6-figure here. So,
that's
so
unfortunate.
But now, now I know when I approach that industry and when I hire somebody or I'm looking at, and that's why I was so excited about getting you on the podcast, because you are into that world. And now we're hearing the both sides of what it needs to happen.
Well, I have a few thoughts, if you don't mind, kind of deviating from about
no,
what
go
you
ahead.
just described.
Go ahead, please.
So, there are a lot of bad players in any industry, but in this one specifically, and it could be intentional or unintentional, right? Like as I described, I'm not freaking King Midas here. Not everything that I touch becomes gold, and statistically, only 1 out of every 10 campaigns is profitable. So those guys may have very well been trying their best to help you and they just couldn't because of a variety of reasons. Or they could have been intentionally lazy, bad, or whatever, malicious, and trying to cheat people out of money. Could be one of those things. I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
I would think that it was, I think that to be fully transparent, which is what we like to do, I'm going to say this is what they were successful because they had some successful clients. Obviously, they put those up front when they're talking to you and pitching to you. And so they were successful. They had the Frank Kerns and the guys out there and everything. So the thing is that a lot of, they didn't elicit quite fully, did I have a product? did I have a way of what I wanted to do out there? So they were really good at building the funnels, doing the ads, putting
Yeah.
all together and all these things. I think that there was parts missing, and that was on my part thinking, I do what I do really good when I'm with the clients or with the teams or whatever. How do I push that out there? I think it's still what's going on, and that's why these podcasts are coming.
Okay, I'm glad you kind of again take extreme ownership of the
Of
situation, but
course.
in retrospect, at least if this was me, as a fiduciary responsibility, almost again coming from the finance world, it
Yeah.
is on the agency to tell the client, say, hey, you know what? I wouldn't run traffic to this page. I would not buy ads for the software. And I do this to people I speak with. Like I had a call last week, and buddy shows me his page. I'm like, dude, like he said, why did I spend $2,000 and I got no results? I'm like, exactly. I would
Right.
not advertise a single dollar before you make this, and this change to make this better, right? This is what I would do. And another thing is my company, again, because I started as an affiliate. Affiliates by definition get paid according to the results they generate. It's
Right.
either a commission or a cost per action. Therefore, if I don't produce, I don't eat. You eat what you kill. Therefore, I built my agency the same way. Like you pay for results. Whereas with a retainer model, I mean, it's very good for monthly recurring revenue and all that for the agency, but there's not a whole lot of incentivization, if you will, for them to perform, right? And I had a case where I charged an agency back $30,000 because I basically, kind of bought into their story and into their promises, and in my opinion, they did not deliver and they didn't try, right? Like if in my opinion they did the best they could, and I would not consider that anything else could have been done. I said, fine, man, you tried the best, you earn the money, good to go. But no, that didn't happen, and also they didn't really communicate very politely with me, and the bank sided with me at the end of the day, right? So when I forwarded the correspondence to the bank dispute managers, she responded, I cannot believe they rolled that. That was her words. And like she's like, I'm going to help you.
Okay.
Again, maybe the guy is listening to this right now. I don't know. Maybe he was gonna have his own opinion on this, but yeah, that happens, right? So, anyways, um, and another thing, last thing I want to say on that is that I think it helps to. It's just like in the military, like Canadian Army is famous for training soldiers basic skills in many different weapon systems, many different jobs. Why? Same thing as a business owner, you have to have familiarity with certain things, in my opinion, in order to hold people accountable.
Right.
Right. So because I have done everything in my business myself before, or almost everything, I know how long things take. I know how long it would take me to build that webpage. I know how long it would take me to create an ad campaign. So when somebody's trying to pull wool over my ass and say like this 2-hour job is going to take 25 hours, I'm going to call bullshit on that.
Right.
And I've seen people get taken for a ride that way because they just simply didn't know. So obviously, there's time and a place for being a specialist and excelling in your zone of genius. But I believe that having at least some sort of basic understanding of the key facets of the business you're in is great for when you're hiring people and contracting that stuff out.
Right. So now that thank you very much for sharing with that and giving us a little bit of more insight on how to approach the online markets and all these things. And the thing is Greg, is now you were talking that you're going through a pivot moment. You're going through some challenges and everything. So now, in the interest of the podcast, what's your battle plan going forward? What are the things that you're looking at? Are you readjusting? Are you rebranding? What's the deal?
Well, so basically, for the first few months, I was just trying hard to work and not quit and do the same thing that worked before, um, and try to make them work again. And unfortunately, that did not pan out. So, launch more e-commerce products. Try to run more affiliate campaigns. Going back to the industries we were in before, like again, the finance industry, the insurance industry. I guess things might have changed in 10 years, right? So like some of the tactics that try to employ, they didn't work. So and because I had to, I lost a couple of people. I basically looked at, okay, what resources do I have left, and like what can I realistically do? So we decided to retain the agency model and basically focus on a couple of niches. So for example, e-commerce sellers in a tactical niche, because that's kind of where we come from. We operated there for 3-4 years. We kind of know the intricacies. We know where you can get in trouble, where you
Right.
have to be careful, and offer just a couple of key core services. So like Google Ads, for instance, like that's my bread and butter. I've been doing it for 14 years, and then my team was pretty savvy with email marketing, and it's often overlooked part
Yeah.
of e-commerce. So it's like, that's one area you're going to work and try to attract clients who need that kind of help. And the e-commerce projects, I mean, I still got them going a little bit. I mean, they still sell a little bit, but it's not probably going to scale. So I'm still exploring few ideas in the e-commerce space, maybe even acquiring a company. Like I acquired a company last year, and I'm familiar with the acquisition process now. So there are definitely could be opportunities that there's an undervalued company, which if I apply what I learned to it, it can reverse the trend or increase the results as long as the offer and the product is good, right? So that's something that I'm doing in my the agency and the e-commerce business is basically like trying to maneuver within those swim lanes, if you will, and testing different sub niches and applying what we learned so far. But on a personal level, like that's another reason why I'm glad we kind of talked. I think I sent you a couple of messages around that. I kind of felt this call for contribution. I don't know. Basically, I feel very fulfilled when I basically help other people in either just consulting or teaching. And I guess maybe because when I was an instructor in the army, like it was actually very fulfilling for me at the time. Like maybe I missed that, seeing my students on the grad parade, like all proud and accomplished. It was a good feeling. So I was kind of thinking about starting a coaching or a training program and teach people what I learned over the last 10 years, how to start an online business, how to scale it, or if you have a brick and mortar business that got hit, how to pivot into online, because everything's moving into digital, even the biggest companies in the world. So that's something that I just kind of been pulled into, just some sort of an innate calling, and I really feel strongly about that. And I thought, like, who can I serve? And I've kind of done a bunch of those exercises, kind of, what I'm talking about, like find your thing.
Find your purpose. Find your
I mean,
you mean what I do?
Yeah, exactly.
I tried to elicit what it is that you're now being motivated, because you did bring up once again language. You said, I feel fulfilled when I contribute, when I'm helping others and all these things. So in the big scale of humanity, we have 6 human needs. I know there's the Maslow out there and people go to that one, but there's also another one. Regardless of where you're from, where you grew up and all these things, we have 6 human needs, which is certainty, uncertainty, variety, significance, love and contribution, growth, love and connection, growth and contribution. And the 4 first one, you're going to fill no matter what. And the perfect example that I use is that, are you an honest man? Are you an honest man, Greg?
Yes.
Yes, of course, right?
Yes.
Even if you said no, you would have defeated the purpose, because if you say no, you're still honest. Have you ever told a lie?
Yes.
There you go. You were filling a need of certainty or a need of love and connection, whichever person you told that lie. So certainty is you probably lied to a boss and said, why are you late? Oh, there was this thing there, which was a white lie, but that's filling your need of certainty to know that I'm going to be certain to keep my job. Mm-hmm. The thing is, as we go through life, we want to be aware of how we fill those needs in a good, beneficial way. And to come back around of what you said about fulfillment, is that most people, believe it or not, that have reached the level of CEO or very successful, whatever, at one point, which we've been thrown around the midlife crisis,
Yeah.
it's just that they've stopped growing and contributing. They've achieved everything. And usually the language is, Bruno, I've done everything I was told to do. Now listen to this. I did everything I was told to do by either society, my family, whatever. I went and I got the degree, I got the wife, I got or the husband. We're equal here, or the husband, and then I got the job, I got the golden watch, and now I feel like I'm depressed, even though I'm making millions or I'm very successful. Why do I feel this way? And most of the time when I work with them, we find out that one, they haven't learned a new skill, they haven't worked on something, and then they're not giving. Because the secret of living from Tony Robbins, the secret of living is giving. It's totally true. So for you to say, I feel fulfilled and I want to do these things, which is a big need, by the way, we're definitely going to talk about that, about helping people. That's the whole point of the Battle Plan podcast, of saying, hey, Greg, what advice do you have for people who want to start in that industry, or what advice do you have for people that are in the industry who are being challenged like you do? And let's be honest about it, which you've been through this whole time, right?
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And I think, yeah, definitely you bring up a lot of real points, and I've kind of discovered them through reading and doing, the personal development work, especially this year when I was kind of doing a lot of soul searching, like, why isn't this working? And yeah, you definitely, I maybe didn't learn new skills, and maybe I wasn't giving enough and focused on kind of, getting those businesses. And I mean, I was helping my clients, I was helping the people, the end consumers of my products, right? Like it served me, but it wasn't like a direct one-on-one, I guess, feedback loop. By no means I could say like I've accomplished everything or I've done everything that I was told, because for the last 10 years nobody was telling me what to do.
Oh no, you went on your own. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I was still listening and watching people and drinking the Kool-Aid, but I mean, there's definitely, I have not reached some of the heights or milestones or goals or whatever that I would have liked, right? So I was for several years like, I'm going to take this company from 7 to 8 figures, and I did. That was one of my kind of things I was driven to. But to answer your question, like what advice I would give to people who are interested in starting a business, particularly online, or those who need to pivot into online from brick and mortar. I mean, it's probably a week worth of content that I can share. But in short, I think first of all, I think the opportunity right now is the best for somebody to start a business, especially online. Why? Because like it's so easy. Like even when I was starting, 14 years ago, there was all of those tools that everybody has access to now. They did not exist. Like I said, there was no Facebook, there was no TikTok, there was no Shopify, there wasn't like Google Analytics. It was like just the toolbox was a lot smaller. And right now there's all of those things are available to you. And the information, again, I had found by luck some forum in the UK, being in Canada, that there was, a couple of hundred guys was hanging around. There was no Facebook groups, there was no LinkedIn groups, there was no YouTube. I think there was no YouTube to begin with at the time.
Right.
Right now there's so much information out there. So it's like Tony Robbins says, like it's people that they don't succeed because they don't, it's not because they don't know what to do, it's because they don't do what they know. Right. So right now there's no excuse saying, oh, I don't know. I mean, yes, because right now there's too much information, you don't know which one to believe in, which is bullshit. So that's the caveat I'm going to throw out there. You gotta like vet your sources, but the information is out there, the tools are out there, the opportunities out there, because like forced or not, last couple of years we proved that even traditionally the industries we thought were brick and mortar, they had to
pivot
online.
Right? When we're pushed, we had to pivot and we had to adapt and we had to find. So that is you're right, it's the opportunity.
Yeah.
What if people would say, you know what, Greg, but you did start your e-commerce and you did start your marketing online and you're doing all these things. Is the market saturated? right? How can I be different, right? Which is usually the
Yeah.
questions I get asked. But for you, is the market saturated, Greg? Is it is somebody wanted to start tomorrow, a stay-at-home mom or or somebody in the forces right now and
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
like, listen, my retirement's coming up. I want to do something else. Would you
Yeah.
say that's a good
So
industry?
in macro terms, the e-commerce and internet business is still just a tiny sliver of the entire economy. Like Amazon is the biggest company in the world, I think, by capitalization. Yet its share of all retail sales is like 3% or something like that. Like I don't have the exact number, but it's tiny. Um, so in that sense, no, it's not saturated, right? Like everything's moving online. As much as possible, and it's still in the early stages. It's growing fast, but what is saturated is basically like everybody is a Facebook ads market right now because they listen to one course and now they're a marketer. I mean, yeah, you know more than an average person, but you bring up a good point. Like, what's different about you? Like, that's if you can nail that down, that I think is the answer. And that is probably when you need to decide on the type of audience that you can serve that only you know or you know very well about. Like, for instance, out of all the different hundreds of products that we tested, I found success mostly with those that related to something that I was, passionate about or knew about, like shooting or fitness or outdoors. Like I tried selling like women's lingerie and that didn't work. Why? Maybe because I'm not in that demographic, or maybe I'm not a good enough marketer. Yeah, so definitely you can carve yourself a niche by not being a cookie cutter solution or service provider, and definitely thinking of something that you can do differently or a different specialized group of people that only you know how to speak with and communicate and add
Right.
value. So like I love how you brought up like a veteran that is fresh out of the forces or thinking of transitioning, because I think that's a perfect demographic for becoming an entrepreneur. We have a lot of shared values with entrepreneurs in terms of the hard work ethic, the grit, the resiliency, attention to detail,
Absolutely.
research, reconnaissance, and many, many more like skills that we already have, like team building, leadership, right? Like it's all when you're alone, you don't need that, but in a couple of years when you scale, you absolutely do. Those skills come handy. So yeah, definitely. And if you have your, pension, then you have that kind of safety net when you can start as a side hustle too, right?
Right.
And not be afraid to take some of those risks. Like, oh, what if I launch this campaign and it fails? Well, you can try again next month.
Well, we talked about that earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
What if I tried this and I failed? And I always like to bring back, Brian Tracy, as that we're going to fail. Everybody's got a magic number out there, right? You heard of that, the Colonel Saunders, right, with KFC. He knocked on 1,000 doors. Obviously, it's a metaphor because they always go for 1,000 doors. Same thing as now I can't think of the name. The guy that found the light bulb, Thomas Edison. He said, a thousand fails. He said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found out 1,000 times how it didn't work. Right. Yeah. So basically it's bringing back to that is that Greg has a magic number somewhere that says, Greg, you're going to try to run this business or these different types of business. Bruno has one as well. And you're going to fail 347 times. But on 348, you're going to hit it because you've learned 347 ways that it didn't work, basically. So it's very important for people. And I think we're actually ahead of the curve while being in the military, because a lot of our training is designed to make us fail so that we learn how to keep going, right? Which I call fall on your face, eat some dirt, get back up and go at it again. And it's so important to have that. And once again, for the audience, is that as you can see, Greg has spoken of many pitfalls that he's ran into, and now he's still as enthusiastic as ever to continue on and find new ways to think. I think that's the mindset to adopt, and knowing right off the bat, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
actually, we all gonna, I fail on a daily basis with this podcast, with content creation, with all these things. I fail. I really do.
Mhm.
But like you said, out of the 10, I think it was the 10 campaigns that you run, one works, right? So we got these metrics. So out of the 10 times I failed, one does work and it's going well, right? It goes
Yeah.
well and it goes from there. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a short answer, yes, but I mean, long answer and just, hand on the heart, honestly, like, I did pump myself up a little bit going into this podcast. That's why I'm smiling and everything. But it's been a dark year. Like it's been the longest time that I've been quote unquote failing. You
Right.
know, it's almost 10 months, like
Right.
honestly. I mean, and yeah, there are small wins along the way that maybe I'm discounting, but yeah, it's been mentally tough. And definitely it's chipping away at your confidence level when for an extended period of time you don't consider that you're winning. And you know yeah, you fail a PO on course, you get retested a couple of times and you pass on the third attempt. Whew, okay, well, that's in the grand scheme of things just a couple of days, whereas you know kind of eating that dirt for months, like that's a big test this year. And I mean, I know there's founders who've been doing it for months and years and then they found success. Yeah, so but yeah, the fact that I'm here, like smiling and being enthusiastic about it's I have to work on it almost every day. Like I do the daily meditation. I try to the freaking happy journal that I bought
Right.
in Target in Florida, and then I have weeks when I'm like I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to shut up. Like I want to delete all my social media and just like bury myself. Just
The ups and downs of running a business, the ups and downs of being a human, basically.
yeah.
Right.
So it's not all like roses and unicorns. And yeah, it's work, and it's also work on yourself as a founder, as a CEO, as a business person, um and still as a soldier. Like I'm going through the DP4 course, and coincidentally it was a module on mental resilience yesterday that I had to
Right.
read. It's a lot of these things about failing and exposing um trainees to failure scenarios and having them deal with it. And
Right.
yeah, I mean, everybody deals with it at one level or another. Just for me personally, this has been probably the longest test ever.
Okay. So that's fantastic. That's honest and that's transparent. And that's what we want here. And actually, I have way more engagement with that type of discussion because that's real. That's exactly what's going on. And that I think is more powerful to the audience, to anybody that's out there. I've always been this way, even with the work that I do for mental health, for first responders and veterans, and helping businesses and stuff like that. But the thing is that I've always been transparent at this because I'm authentic, and it's so important for me because then I can go to bed at night knowing that I'm not, because the imposter syndrome shows up and you're going, how do I deserve this? Should I be continuing on? So we all go through these
Yeah,
battles.
yeah.
So to close this on, because we've been dishing out some really good stuff here, Greg, is what's next, right? What's next for you, and where can people reach out? What should we be looking for from Greg?
Yeah, so I mean, if you found the stuff we talked here valuable, or if you're just interested to kind of peek a little bit more into my life, I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me on Facebook using my first and last, Greg Potapenko. Instagram, same thing, and my handle is h-hour.agency. Um, there, I'm also active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And in terms of what's next, so I'm still going to continue with the agency business, and you can find out more about what we do at our corporate website. It's basically h-hour.agency. So you can learn about the agency there and the services we provide, and how maybe we can help you with your business. And then I am working on a project that I think I bounced off of you, Bruno. It's called Enlisted to Entrepreneur. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run probably a 5-day challenge, basically a big giant week-long workshop for any veteran or transitioning military that is interested in trying to repeat my journey and hopefully not make as many mistakes along the way. But basically, yeah, launching a business online or scaling an existing business or pivoting an existing brick and mortar business into online. And
Oh, that sounds very interesting.
yeah, that's
That
just a
sounds.
personal project of mine that like I told you earlier, that I kind of felt strongly about doing for a long time now, and I'm probably going to kick myself if I don't do it. So that's a big milestone on my to-do list.
Well, there you
Next,
go. Now you've put it out there to the people. So now you have to do it, right? That's how
yeah,
I like to kind of put my back against the wall when things aren't so going. I commit and I become accountable to other people
right on.
because then it leverages me to say, hey, you know what? You can't let people down, which we don't like to do. So, Greg, we'll put all the links down below that we have for people to reach out to you. You've been amazing on being really transparent and talking about, this exciting market out there of online businesses. And you know what, we're probably going to have you again on the podcast down the road to see where you're at, where you're going, and we'll stay in touch for sure. So people, if you have any questions or anything like that, reach out to Greg. Well, like I said, we'll have the links down below. Send us some messages, some comments. If you have any questions for him, we'll make sure to pass that along. And yeah, thank you so much for being on the episode today, Greg. Any last parting words for the audience?
The last parting words my OC gave me on my 3 Bravo courses. You can do it. That was all the encouragement we got, but it was enough.
Right. You can do it. Awesome, guys. So if you like the episode, like it, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Battle Plan Podcast. Have a great day, everyone.